Hello and welcome to Limitless Ladies Network, where our mission is to help women build holistic, empathetic self-care and well-being. Before we get started, I just wanted to go over our standard disclaimer that this content is provided for general informational purposes only. It is not advice nor intended to be a substitute for professional medical or legal advice. The information is to be used at your own discretion. Those seeking treatment for legal advice or medical advice for any symptoms or physical ailments should definitely seek a qualified professional. We make no representations, no warranties, and assume no liabilities for the content herein. Thank you so much for joining us today as we talk with Pamela Thompson from Wellness Within on how we can deepen our love for ourselves. No better time than at Valentine's Day, where we can actually get some expert advice on how to improve our compassion and self-love. So Pamela's here from Wellness Within. So excited to have you back, Pamela.
Thank
So
you,
why don't
Tammy.
you, thank you. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your Wellness Within program?
Okay, well, my husband and I are in business together from which we call Wellness Within, and we work with people, helping them to reduce their level of stress, anxiety, overwhelm, chronic pain, using mind and body tools and techniques. Um, and one of the very biggest, one of the biggest aspects is helping people develop a sense of self-love, because so many of us, and myself included, have struggled with that throughout our lives. Um,
As have I.
yeah, yeah, we are conditioned to put ourselves last, to um, take care of other people, to love other people, um, and not so much ourselves. So that's part of our mission, is to say, whoa, loving yourself is critical.
Yes, it is. And so self-love can actually mean different things to different people.
Mhm.
Some people think of it as, being very egotistical and just only loving themselves and nobody else, which is one perception, I guess. So in your view, what do you think of as self-love?
Well, we actually don't feel that self-love is egotistical, narcissistic, or self-centered. It's not at the expense of others. True self-love. Um, it is a deliberate practice that is an ongoing practice of showing up for yourself, of honoring who you are, your needs, your desires, your emotions, and doing so with compassion and respect. And in the core of self-love, at the center of it, it means truly embracing every part of you, every part of who you are. That includes your perceived imperfections and limitations, illnesses, diseases. Um,
Mhm.
it's about accepting yourself fully, recognizing that you are unique. You have unique qualities. You have unique ways of doing things. You have unique ways of speaking. It's celebrating your strengths. It's appreciating the way you think, the way you learn, and the way you experience life in general. And self-love is really valuing your feelings, honoring the way you express yourself. And above all, it's knowing that you are inherently worthy. You don't have to earn self-love. You are born with the worthiness to love yourself.
Yes, and it is definitely something that can be challenging for a lot of us to do, because that negative self-talk kind of gets in the way. So, self-love and looking inside ourselves versus, what other people are judging you and how, you might be reacting to different things is challenging for a lot of people. Um, and trying to figure out how they can navigate those things. And they are really just, experiences for the most part, but It is
Absolutely.
challenging.
It is challenging because um, we're conditioned. Things that are said to us, oh, don't get a big head. Um, you know, don't be so selfish. Um, give to this one and not yourself first.
Right. It's like our society tells us that we really shouldn't love ourselves because the definition has been egotistical and narcissistic, right? It's not,
Exactly.
be true to yourself and make sure
Mm,
that, if you don't want to do something, then it's okay to say no. Or if you like to do something, it's okay for you to say that you like to do gymnastics or you like to sing or whatever it might be.
yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So it's good that we live into that. And so, why is it so important you feel that we have self-love?
Well, for one thing, it self-love fosters connections and harmony. And the total opposite is when you are in a place of narcissism or selfishness. Those create isolation and disconnection. And it strengthens, self-love strengthens relationships because when you value yourself, you can give love to others and not feel drained. And self-love builds up your confidence, your self-respect, and self-worth. And that empowers you to make healthy choices,
Mm.
especially with relationships. And that positively impacts every area of your life.
It does, because if you don't feel confident in yourself or
Yes.
love yourself, then you're not going to have confidence in the choices that you're making and always second guessing something or, why did I do that or I should not have done that and start down that path of negative self-talk. So,
Exactly. And you're always looking outside yourself for someone else
else.
to prove to you that you are worthy, that you are loved. And that's uh that's tough to put onto someone else to do that.
It
Um,
is. No one else can really validate your worthiness or how much that you should be loving yourself, right? You should always start with yourself first.
yeah. And it's also self-love is also really critical for your physical health,
Mm.
as well as your emotional health. Because when you have those feelings of love for yourself, when you have that confidence and that self-worth and self-esteem, the chemistry in your body is much different. It supports all of your body systems and they work the way they're intended to. But the opposite is true if you don't love yourself, because you tend to have these negative emotions like things like, well, the inferiority, the guilt, the shame, embarrassment, regret, whatever. And the chemistry in your body now is made up of stress hormones. And stress hormones are intended only to help you survive. They are intended to be released into your system so that you can either fight or flee. You can get away from a tiger or nowadays, jump out of the way of a car. We don't have tigers, real tigers anymore that are chasing us and wanting us for dinner. Um, and then those chemicals are they don't stay in your system. When they do, they're harsh and they not only break down your cells, but they also shut off all of your working systems, your digestion, your immune system, your
Mhm.
creativity. And for because you don't need to digest food or even fight off a virus or plan or do some artwork when you're
Right.
getting out of the way of a car, okay, or a tiger. Um, so when those things are shut down, you're not getting the nutrition, you're not getting the immune support, the clarity that you need in your life. So, and then there's one more that is probably the most important, or maybe it's just the third important. That's that it allows you to receive love. Uh,
Mm.
because without it, that self-doubt, that sense of unworthiness, of insecurity, that really blocks your ability to connect with people. Um, it blocks your ability to trust the love that someone may have for you is real. And it's a subconscious doubt that is there that can lead to self-sabotage in relationships, whether it's a partner relationship, a loving relationship, or friendships, or even a parent-child friendship. So,
Very true, because if we don't love ourselves and we don't fill our own cup up with loving thoughts of ourselves, what you perceive of yourself is how others are going to see that and then just project it right back to you, I feel.
oh my
So
gosh.
if you love yourself, then you will start to see that people around you are going to really kind of open up and feel more loving and caring for you as well. And you also see, patterns of activity with relationships and with different habits that you might have with that negative self-talk, because it's easy to spiral when you start down the path and you wake up in the morning and you're not feeling very well and you drop something and you feel like, oh my God, the whole day is going to be bad. And you just continuously keep, the
Yep.
reel keeps
Yep.
going and going and going, right? But you have to, at some point, stop and realize that it's just a thing, right? Something just
Right.
happened. So don't talk to yourself like that. Talk to yourself like your daughter or your friend.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's one of the things that you mentioned here is so important. We don't give it a second thought to beat ourselves up in our minds. Um, it's like, all right, if I, kick myself in the butt, if I, really am mean to myself, I'm going to motivate myself to be better, do it
Mhm.
right.
Right.
Um, and it doesn't work that way. All it does is it knocks you down more, makes you feel worse about yourself. And it reinforces the thoughts of I'm not worthy. I'm not, who am I to be loving me? And so the one of the most important things to do is to become aware of how you are talking to yourself, and say, would I say that to my daughter? Would I say that to my husband, my best friend? Would I say that to a stranger?
It's
We
not.
treat, I know we sometimes treat strangers better than we treat ourselves.
Right, because they don't know us. They don't know the thoughts going on in our heads.
Yeah. Um,
So
so that becoming aware of how you're treating yourself, you deserve, you deserve kindness from yourself.
it is a key thing to kind of stop and really look at what's happening around you and how you are treating yourself in the moments of anger or frustration or sadness, whatever it might be. And it's not an easy thing to do because I've been doing this myself, is to kind of like sit for a moment or walk away from what it is that I'm doing and take a couple breaths and then think about, why am I judging myself this way? And kind of ask some of those deeper questions and really realize that, yeah, it's just something that happened. So stop beating yourself up about it,
Yeah, and
You have to move past that. You can't just keep digging, right? Because it's not going to get you anywhere.
well, it gets you feeling worse and worse.
Yeah, it digs
But move
deeper
on.
in, but it doesn't get you out.
Exactly. It does. It gets you deeper into that hole of feeling miserable about yourself. And
Right.
um, yeah, and this month of February is all about love. And we forget that self-love is really important. And so taking the time, especially in February, to say, okay, let me see. I'll look myself in the mirror and say, I love you. Try that.
Yeah.
Because that is a very powerful thing, to really look at yourself and say, I love you. Um, and then to feel it. I know when I did this activity years and years and years ago from a coach who had suggested that it would be very, very helpful for me, um, I broke down and cried. And I said, because what came back to me was, no, you don't. It was like,
Mhm.
why? Why don't I? And I saw my younger self, a little girl, saying that to me, no, you don't. And I thought, wow, who would not love you, little girl?
Right?
But that's what we learn. We learn for whatever happens in our lives, our conditioning from family, from society, from all of that. We learn that it's selfish. It's not right to love yourself. And who do you think you are? I mean, how many times have we heard that? Don't get a big head. Um, and
Yeah, it's society, and
mm,
your parents, as much as they love us and we love our children and we say the same things, probably, right? I've probably said the same thing to my kids, but you just don't realize that you're kind of squashing some of their own creativity and their own worthiness of themselves by experimenting with different things.
mhm,
So, your words can be really hurtful sometimes, especially to yourself. So
right.
it is
Yeah,
just super important that we kind of stop and think about what we're saying to ourselves.
right. And the people, and you mentioned that too about parents and friends and whatnot, people saying these things to us when we were younger, and they didn't do it to hurt us.
Right.
They did it because that's what they knew, and they didn't know what it was actually doing.
Yeah.
And with all of the science and knowledge now that we have about our emotions, about we're always learning as humans evolve. We
Mhm.
learn um, what it is that makes us human, and what it is that creates us, our happiness, our sadness, all of the conditions in our lives. And so now we're in a totally different place in our
Yes.
evolution, and it's a higher awareness. Our consciousness is a little bit higher. So focusing in on that self-love. And maybe people say, you know what, I do. Yeah, I take care of myself. I do a lot of things for myself. Well, self-care and self-love are very different. Self-care is more of an action. It's it's doing things that nurture yourself. Um, Things like, taking a bath after a day's work, hard work, or getting a massage even. It's being spending time with family and friends. It might be, just going out for an evening with friends and family. And these are all important, and they are beneficial for your well-being. But the self-care doesn't actually or necessarily come from self-acceptance. Because you can take part in self-care activities out of an obligation or a habit rather
Mhm.
than as an act of genuine self-love. Something like maybe going and getting a pedicure or a manicure you're doing, or your hair done. You're doing that, not that you do that, but you could be doing it out of a sense of, well, I have to look a certain way. It's not that this feeds me, my soul, and this care of, this is something I totally enjoy. Um, but it feeds just that obligation piece. Self-love is a really deeper mindset. It's embracing yourself totally, including quirks, strengths, imperfections, and it recognizes that your worthiness is inherent. It's not something you have to earn. Um, but self-care can be an act of self-love when it comes from a place of self-acceptance and self-worth. It's not indulgence, then,
Right.
but if it's an intentional nurturing of your physical, emotional, or mental or spiritual well-being, then it's a reflection of self-love, of honoring yourself.
Yeah, and sometimes self-love, I think, is more perceived as those external things that you're doing,
Yes.
right? You're going out and you're going to the spa and you're going to dinners and things and getting your nails done, and that feels good or it looks good externally, but on the inside, how are you feeling on the inside? Right.
Exactly.
So connecting inside and asking yourself those questions, like you did, do you love yourself? How do you feel about yourself? And I love the idea of looking in the mirror and just saying, I love you with all of your imperfections, even though you might have pimples or you've got a bad hair day or, whatever it might be, you're overweight, but whatever it is, you have to love and accept for who you are. And then just go through your day appreciating
Mhm.
it. Because if you don't,
Exactly.
then no one else is gonna you're not gonna get that reciprocated back to you because they're just gonna see they are not happy with yourself.
Exactly. Exactly. Mhm.
I love that definition.
Yeah.
So, how on the cusp of Valentine's Day, Pam, can we incorporate just a little bit of self-love as habits for the day?
No, you touched on one a little bit earlier, Tammy, and I made a note of it because it's so important. It's actually saying yes and saying no.
Mm,
So no is these are boundaries, okay? So often when we don't love ourselves, we have very weak boundaries. Um,
truth.
and people can walk all over us, or we give away all of ourself because that's what we should do. And then there's nothing left for us to give. Okay. We deplete ourselves, we deplete our resources. So saying no is finding that place of like when something doesn't feel right, or it doesn't feel like I want to do it, or it feels like it's an obligation and I really don't want to be there. Ask yourself the question, is this something that I want to do? Is
Mm,
this, can I, learning to say no in a kind way. No, this isn't for me. Or no, I don't have the time. Or, and you don't have to make excuses either. But it's,
right.
it's learning to set those boundaries because
On,
you honor yourself
yes.
and what's important for you. So that's one, is setting those personal boundaries with a no. And on the other hand, saying yes. How many times in our lives do we limit our experiences because maybe we get an idea, we're inspired to do something, or it's something looks like it would be so much fun, maybe going to an acting class or joining an acting group, and you say, oh no, but I can't do that. I can't speak in front of people. Oh no. And then you turn it off. I'm not good enough. I'm
Right.
not, I'm not capable, or oh wow, that's way too much for me. Um, and so allowing yourself to say yes to those things that have a spark of enjoyment and fun, and just experiencing something, not putting yourself into a box. This is all I can do.
Yeah, I
Okay.
agree.
Hmm. So that's one way of doing, of really uh, expressing your self-love or developing your self-love.
Yeah, it is a practice for sure,
Mhm.
especially if you're dealing with some other issues and you have low self-esteem, right? It's hard to say no and honor yourself. Um,
Yes, it is.
and you can soften it by saying no, thank you, if you need to. But definitely don't make excuses, It's good to make sure that you honor yourself. And I love the idea of also saying yes to the things that you might be a little afraid to do,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it kind of gets your heart thumping because, you
Mhm.
have that good, not anxiety, but good vibes to be able to like
Yeah,
nervous
it's a
to do
little.
something and try something new, right? It's exciting.
Mhm. It is. It is.
Yeah.
And we did talk about it before. Becoming aware of how you speak to yourself is very important.
Oh,
And beginning to shift when, say, when you drop something, you drop an egg, all right, an egg is a sticky thing to clean up. Instead of like, oh my God, how stupid am I? It's like, oh, all right, I dropped an egg. It means nothing
right,
about me.
right.
It does not mean I'm stupid or I'm clumsy or I'm foolish. It means
Hmm.
I dropped an egg.
Right. You have to get down to the facts of things. And that's something that I've recently been learning too is, when you go through that self-judgment phase with the negative self-talk. So you're like, okay, well, why am I judging myself for this? And then, okay, well, what does that judgment, what story am I creating about that? Right? That I'm
Exactly.
stupid because, so and so made fun of me when I was in fifth grade, you know. But what is the truth? The truth is I dropped an egg. That's the facts. And then you just move on.
And how many people have never dropped anything
Right.
and had a break, you know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And another important piece is prioritizing your own well-being and happiness. So if you don't make your happiness a priority, who will? And your happiness, in making your happiness a priority, doesn't mean that you're self-centered or selfish or you're neglecting others. It just means that you love yourself and you're taking care of you. So it's not a selfish thing. And when you do this, you are also giving permission to others to do the same for themselves.
Mm.
So it becomes a ripple effect when you love yourself and others in that energy is going out, as you mentioned, Tammy, people in reflect that back to you
Mhm.
as you love yourself. You are giving permission to others to do the same.
Mhm.
And then, that all comes full circle. So yeah,
Yeah,
loving yourself is very necessary.
that it is. Love makes the world go round.
It does. I did want to share something that just came to my awareness today from a very dear friend who this is a song. It's I don't know if you want to call it a mantra, but whatever. It's a very short thing. It's by someone by the name of Ricky Byars, Byars. It's a woman. Um, and her song is, the words to this song are very short. I love myself so much so that I can love you so much, so that you can love you so much, so that you can start loving me.
That's amazing.
And I thought that that was just really perfect for what you wanted to do with this podcast.
Yeah, it's perfect. I mean, it does show that it's a cycle, right?
It is. Yeah.
What
Yep.
you put out there will come back to you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
This was a great episode. So thank you so much, Pamela, for joining me again today and sharing some tidbits of love that we can sprinkle throughout our day. Whether you're single or in a relationship, it's always good to be able to show yourself some self-love. Um,
Absolutely.
So our video recording will be updated on the Limitless Ladies Network under videos page for you to review later in case you didn't make this episode. And before we leave, Pamela, what would you like to share with us that you're working on at Wellness Within?
Well, a couple of things. My husband and I have just finished the content of our upcoming book. It's called Stress Less, Thrive More, Discovering the Secrets to Physical, Emotional, and Mental Wellness.
Love it.
That book will be launched the end of May, the beginning of June, and we're very excited about it. We're working on finishing up the pieces that companion pages to go along with it, plus a bonus. We're also in March 25th, 26th, 27th, we're going to be doing an online program on achieving emotional freedom. So, look for information on that. So,
That's all.
and yeah, yeah. So thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. This was a great discussion.
You're welcome. I'm so glad to have you, as always. And please sign up for the Limitless Ladies Network. Sign up, I put in the chat. I also put in a link to the Wellness Within CT. So you could check out Pamela and Brad's website and what they're working on as well. And I appreciate everybody being here today. And I wish everyone a wonderful Valentine's Day. We have some other events coming up as well with some vision boarding workshops that I'm working on. And I also have a book that will be coming out myself. I'm in an anthology that will hopefully be out later in May as well. So keep an eye out for that. And also have got some other podcasts that are going to be coming up. One this week on safe dating with a retired detective. So definitely sign in.
I'd like to add, Tammy, that this Limitless Ladies Network is offering so much wonderful information, guests, and content that you are sharing with people. And I just wanted to put a shout out for you that it's greatly appreciated.
Thank
And
you.
yeah,
It's been great having you as a podcast guest speaker on the directory. And I just love sharing and the connection that we have and kind of spreading that out to others. So I'm
yes,
super excited.
absolutely. We'll
Yeah.
spread the love.
Yes, that's right. All right.
Mhm.
Thank you.